All right.
Welcome to the SCIF. I am Matt. That is Stu. We are back here on a Wednesday night. I think we have Odysee running tonight, which is all good news, thanks to Stu. And got an interesting week here. We're going to try to keep this show just like we did last week. We're going to try to keep it to an hour. And we'll see where we go. We've got, I think, some choice topics for this week. We are a 501c3. I want to make sure I get this out of the way. We're on YouTube. We're on Odysee. We're on Rumble right now. We're a 501c3. You can go and check our website out at TheGreenBeretLife.com. If you have any questions of either Stu or myself, you're thinking about joining the military, I don't care what it is. Questions, if we have a good answer, we'll get back to you. You can email us at TheGreenBeretLife@gmail.com. And sometimes it takes us a little while to get back there, but we will get back. So feel free, if you have some questions, if you're looking for some advice, it's always free. So
and you get what you pay for.
Yep, exactly. So we'll try to put you in the right direction. And if we don't feel like we can answer, we'll tell you we can't answer. So with that being said, what do we have on the docket for tonight that's YouTube friendly? Because as normal, we're not going to spend all night on YouTube for the simple reason they are looking to clamp down on all of us. And one of the subjects we're not going to talk about today, but is this TikTok thing. Have you seen this? There's two sides to it. Basically telling TikTok you have to sell out to an American company or we're going to ban you. Now, Trump tried to ban them. The danger people are worried about is that, and I said I wasn't going to talk about it, but just briefly, we'll cover the quagmire. The quagmire is that if we do this to TikTok, then the left is going to do this because they're not going to let Rumble's put in an offer to buy TikTok.
They're not going to let that happen.
Yeah, if we do this to TikTok, the left is going to immediately go after X, Twitter, right? So that's a double-edged sword. I think we stick with the Constitution, and if TikTok is a Chinese company, ban them and get them out of the freaking country, period. That's what Trump did. Biden reversed it, and just like he reversed so many things that have gotten us into trouble here.
If I remember right, didn't Trump start it where basically TikTok could stay in the country, but it had to be divested from China? Basically, it had to be sold to or operated by an American entity.
That's what they're doing now. And Trump gave them that option, but Trump was just trying to ban TikTok because it's an arm of the Chinese government. It's an intel collection apparatus. So that's what this new bill is trying to do. But Trump has come out and said, I don't know. I've thought about this. You know, you've heard Rand Paul talk about it, and I can see the point. You can't. I say just get rid of them. Get rid of them. It's an intelligence apparatus from the Chinese. We've got enough. We've got enough social media outlets. Get them the hell out of the country, and don't even put them up for sale. That way, there's just no conflict.
Even then, though, Matt, you still run that risk of, you know, what happens next. You know, they're getting rid of it for, you know, say a valid reason, whatever. What's going to happen when they come around and say, oh, well, Twitter is being used for disinformation. It needs to be regulated by the government.
But here's how you get rid of it. It's a intel collecting apparatus for the Chinese government, wholly owned by the Chinese government. That's how you get rid of it. You can't use the same argument against X or Truth or any of those.
Well, yeah, you and I know that, and the people listening know that. But the average person, all they're going to believe is what the talking heads and the television telling them that sort of thing.
You would be setting the precedent if you said you have to divest. Okay, if you're saying no, you're Chinese intelligence and a Chinese intelligence apparatus, then you set the precedent. You couldn't accuse X of being a foreign intelligence apparatus. It's a wholly American-owned company.
Oh, no. Right? I understand that. What I'm saying is that whenever they come out, when the Democrats come out with their talking points, they're going to completely ignore the fact that the reason it was.
Yeah, but then it wouldn't have any traction. It wouldn't have any traction. You don't do things for fear of what the Democrats are going to do. Our goal should be we're going to win every fight we take the Democrats on. We're not at that
That's
level
true.
yet, right? But you don't go against the Constitution either, and to remove any appearance of impropriety or any of these things, saying, "Hey, you have to sell off." No, fuck off. You're Chinese intelligence out of the country. You know what I mean? So you can do that with a lot of them. I think Snapchat is Canadian. A lot of these, being a police officer, this is funny bringing this up. There was lots of criminal activity around social media, right? Even when I was a cop, and I stopped being a cop in 2018, right? And if you needed something, if you needed to get information, say there was a crime, even it could even be CSC, criminal sexual conduct, right? You could have a crime, and you could have evidence on a company like Snapchat or any one of these other foreign outlets, okay? When you subpoenaed them, because it's a foreign entity, good luck. You're not getting shit. Even if you've got the evidence there to solve the crime, you're not getting shit. So there's a lot to be said that, if you're not American, go pound sand. You know what I mean?
Well, even if it's not the fact of if you're not American, but if you are not going to operate by the laws of this country, because they'll take and ban things in freaking Timbuktu because they go against the law in that country. So if they would simply say, it's like, okay, if we're going to operate in the United States, we will abide by the laws of the United States, meaning if they get subpoenaed, they would respond appropriately instead of just saying, tough luck, because that's unacceptable.
Yeah. Here's, we were talking, if you walk it back and look at it backwards, you could say, hey, if it's wholly owned, or even partially owned by the federal government of any country, right? That could be seen as an intelligence gathering apparatus, and you could get rid of it, right? Whereas you look at something like X, Twitter, zero. Now, if you look at Meta, or if you look at...
Come on, Matt. Say it isn't so.
Yeah.
The United States government didn't pump money into Facebook, did they?
The government's balls deep in those other ones. They used to be in Twitter before Elon Musk bought it. Now it's like a hot potato. So it's Truth and X and Rumble are among the only Odysee, BitChute, the only pure ones out there. I don't know about BitChute because it's British. It is a pretty good site, but it is British owned. So usually these European countries are mostly socialist, and they have some sort of hand in whatever corporation is out there, which is anti the way capitalism should be. But anyways, what do we got that's YouTube friendly? We'll get off this subject.
Oh, well, I think about the only thing we have that's YouTube friendly, and even that is probably a stretch, seeing how YouTube comes up with some things. And you sent me this one with today being
yeah. Canine Veterans Day.
Yep, National Canine Veteran Day.
Hey, this is, I just want to say, we have used service dogs in the wars, and some really shitty things have gone on with these dogs. I can tell you a personal story about trying to get dogs back here, trying to get training for our deltas to be able to spay dogs, because when you're on small fobs overseas, you have dogs, and there's all sorts of wild dogs out there, and they impregnate the dogs that are kind of like your pets. And next thing you know, you have 50 dogs, and you can't have it. So our service dogs really get the short end of the stick. And you even saw it here during the Biden administration and the pullout of Afghanistan. Now, of course, this isn't the reason, but this is what I suspect happened. They were trying to stuff those planes full of as many Afghans to get them over here as possible. And they left our service dogs on the ground in Afghanistan. And let me tell you something, okay? If you understand Islam or anything about Islam and how they look at dogs in the Islamic world, oh my God, it breaks my heart to think of what we did. And we left our dogs behind in Vietnam. Just imagine what happened to those dogs that were connected. This screwed up so many soldiers, dogs that were involved in saving lives of their handlers and everything else. And we left those dogs to the Vietnamese. My God, I think everybody is starting to see this bullshit. And they're also starting to see these big contractors that basically look at these dogs as chattel. And once they're done with their service life, they basically euthanize them. And this cannot be. This cannot happen. Laws are starting to be put in place. They need to be adopted out, especially their handlers that want them. I mean, even up until recently, if you were a handler trying to get these dogs, it's unbelievable. And now that we're on that subject,
the red tape and the bureaucracy that was in place to prevent it.
Yeah. And while we're on this rant, you know, you've probably seen there's a bunch of organizations out there, and they're good organizations that are getting heat alarms for canines and police, and they're also getting vests for canines and police. Mm-hmm. Being a cop, I can tell you the police SOPs for dogs are fucking horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. And let me tell you what I mean, Stu. First of all, they spend thousands of dollars on getting these trained dogs. Sometimes here from the United States, sometimes from Germany or Czechoslovakia. Okay. They get these dogs and they don't have the money to get them ballistic vests or vests that can protect them from getting stabbed. That should be a law. If you can't afford to buy your dog a vest and have heat alarms inside the vehicles, you can't afford as a police department to have a dog.
Well,
right?
They probably have more money in the training of the dog than they do the officer that gets the dog.
They absolutely do.
They act like they don't have the money to, you know, even if you just look at it from a dollars and cents point of view, you don't have the money to protect that investment.
Yeah.
You know, you're just going to waste that money because, you know, something malfunctioned in the car, the AC kicked off, and the officers doing whatever, handling something somewhere else, and the dog suffocates in the car and overheats because you can't have it, like you said, an overtemp thing that'll take and crack the windows or, you know, something to that effect.
And oftentimes you'll find cops will be dog handlers and they don't like dogs. You'll see that. if you don't like dogs, you have no business being a dog handler because that dog is your responsibility, right?
How do you get to be a dog handler and not like dogs?
Dude, you see it all the time.
How does that happen?
You see it all the time. In Minnesota, there was an incident a couple years ago where it got caught on a casino, a cop beating the shit out of his dog in between the door lobbyway of the casino, punching him, full on punching the dog. You know what I mean? That's immediately charges, fired, the whole 9 yards. But I'm going to tell you.
That's drug out in the street and shown the business end.
What I'm trying to get to here, and I'm getting sidetracked on the SOPs that police departments have for dogs. Okay, let me tell you what they do. So you have a criminal, a shitbag with a gun or a knife, right? So if you have somebody that has a gun or a knife and they're threatening either innocent civilians or they're threatening other cops, he's using a technique that we refer to as deadly force, right? So deadly force must be met with deadly force. But because of politics and being politically correct, a lot of these fucking police departments, and pardon my French, okay, look at the dog as a sacrificial entity, okay? So there's some shitbag out of his mind on drugs, and because they don't want to do what needs to be done, or he's held up in a house, right? So instead of sending the SWAT guys into the house, which is their job, right? But they will, let me tell you, and I'm not here shitting on all SWAT guys, but man, they will not go into the house. They'll send a dog into the house when they know somebody is armed. And what do you think happens, Stu? The dog gets fucking shot, or he gets stabbed. Or they'll have some guy out just going nuts, naked, swinging a knife around, and they sick the dog on him, and the dog gets stabbed. That is not the correct. And they'll say, well, he was there to sacrifice himself for the police. No, The dog should never be sacrificed. You know what I'm saying? So if there's somebody with a gun or with a knife or something like that, it is the responsibility of that police officer to meet that deadly force with deadly force. Period. Amen. You don't sacrifice your fucking dog. And it just happens. It pisses me off, and people just keep going through that shit. So recognizing National Canine Veterans Day is super important, because these dogs really give a lot, and they will do anything for their trainers, right? And we need to do whatever we can to make sure that these dogs are taken care of. And then once they retire at around 8 years of age, they're taken care of after that. And these companies can't treat them like chattel. So
I mean, they just take and they treat them as another serial numbered object. They're not
correct.
They're not living creatures in their eyes with attachments and that sort of thing. And like you said, being a dog person, I couldn't imagine being a dog handler and spending day in and day out with, a dog like that looks to you for everything and counts on you and is there for you to do everything, and just saying,
sending them into a house with a dude who is held up and armed in there, right?
Yeah.
Now I am going into that fucking house with my dog, and if that fucker has a gun, he's getting shot. You know what I mean? You don't send your dog in to be sacrificed. Sorry,
but it's kinder gentler now, Matt. The dogs are expendable as far as they're concerned.
Yeah. So it happens all the time, dude. And it's just I see this and I get just pissed. Even that dog that they showed in the picture, no vest on that dog. Now most of the military working dogs have vests, okay, but most of the police canines do not. And I remember going through skills. Listen to this story. When I was fresh out of the military, and I'm going through the process to be certified to be a police officer, and we were in one of the classes, and one of the instructors who was on a SWAT team, right, mentioned, if you got the dog wrestling with the guy, and he's I'd even shoot through the dog to get to the. And I said, what? Because he's telling the class this. I said, excuse me? And he said, well, what do you mean? I said, if I was there and you shot that dog, I'd fucking shoot you. I said, what are you serious about that? Well, I'm just saying the dog. I said, fuck no. I said, in the military, we would never fucking do something so stupid. And I said, you're teaching people here that you would shoot through a dog? Fuck you. You don't deserve to be anywhere near a dog. That was my attitude. This was the instructor of the class, one of the instructors. Yeah. And I wouldn't let it go. But I couldn't believe that came out of his mouth. And that was the first time I saw this shit. Right? And I'm like, these police departments they shouldn't have dogs. They should not have dogs. They don't treat them right. Not all of them. Some of them do, okay? But their SOPs are all fucked up, and they don't have the right equipment for the dog to keep the dog safe. Just get out of here. No way, man.
Yeah, but I can guarantee you they've got a bear cat hidden away somewhere, a couple of MRAPs, for parades.
Well, when I was in law enforcement, here's what I would see happen. Okay, so there would be an incident with an individual, provided there wasn't a hostage or anything else. What they would do, even if there were hostages, what they tend to do, and I understand it to a certain extent, they surround the facility. What if it's a house? Whatever. They surround it, and then it's a waiting game. Okay, and maybe there's different. But this is my experience and what I saw, okay? They would surround and there'd be a waiting game. The SWAT team usually gets there about 2 hours after the incident goes down, right? And now you've got the media helicopters up. All other police departments are responding, and they're basically building a cordon around the facility, and they're waiting the dude out. So the dude's either going to commit suicide, right? Or he's going to give up. That's what I think they normally wait for. And sometimes you can't do that. You've got to go in and get that fucker when you have him. You know what I mean? And the military is a different way. You're going in. The military, when when you're overseas, you're going in, and there may be somebody on the other side of that door. You know, you're going to go and walk into something. You know what I mean? But you go in anyways to get your guy, right? And law enforcement basically does not do that. And I get it, because you're falling under the rule of law over here. Everybody's worried about getting sued, all of this shit, right? But this just is one of the deals that leads back to these dogs. And I'm going to tell you, when something goes down, it's usually not the SWAT team that's dealing with it. It's the patrol officer that's dealing with it. And very few patrol officers are taught how to clear a house.
Yeah.
You know? And that's a problem. But most of the time, I mean, it's the patrol officer who's going to get it done, because, like I said, the SWAT teams are usually, unless they're a huge department, are not a full-time SWAT team. So it's, you know, they've got their day job as being a regular cop, and then they show up on a SWAT call out, and they get there 2 hours late. So
yeah, Matt,
anyways, that's my little rant.
We got user Johnny Cat on YouTube, and he's agreeing with you. He said, yeah, service dogs are the only ones that get treated worse than the service members. And he said, yeah, Uvalde showed us a lot on the, well, I'm not going to paint all police officers with that, but yeah, that the Uvalde police officers showed us their priority, and it wasn't the kids that needed them.
They were afraid of one dude with a rifle that's killing little kids, and they're surrounding and they're afraid to go in there and get the job done. I mean, let's
stop, because we're still on YouTube. Let's at least just talk about what else we're gonna discuss, and we'll move over to Rumble, because this probably won't end well on YouTube.
But Stu, why don't you give us the rundown? I'm going to go refill my water because I'm thirsty as shit, and give them the rundown of what we're going to talk about, and then we'll switch on over to Rumble.
All right. Yeah, we've got a hot mess that's been going on over in Haiti. I don't know if you guys have seen that, where it looks like it's broken down into basically Escape from New York territory, with what's going on there with the gangs and everything that have seemingly taken over the country. Actually, their president right now has decided he's not going to go back. He's just going to resign while he's abroad, and sure he'll wind up here in the U.S. somewhere. We've got a Republican House member that is resigning effective next week. Representative Ken Buck out of Colorado. He's hitting the silk and heading home for reasons. We've got
it's self-destruction of the Republican Party.
Our director of the FBI is now sounding the alarm at the southern border, because all of this is new and no one has seen this the past 3 years of what's going on. It's all new, and now it's an issue, by golly, and we're going to find a way to resolve it. We're going to talk about that. Boeing has been having a lot of issues with their aircraft lately. And apparently it's not only their aircraft that are dangerous, it's apparently dangerous being a Boeing whistleblower, because you can wind up suicided. The Boeing whistleblower was actually found suicided in between depositions. So we're going to talk about that a little bit.
Stu, wasn't your nickname in high school the whistleblower?
No, that wasn't me. That wasn't me. I can't take you anywhere. Last week, we talked about Steve Baker, the journalist with The Blaze, that was going to be arrested by the FBI for January 6th. The House Judiciary Committee has launched an inquiry into that arrest. We're going to talk about that for a few minutes. And the last thing was something that Matt sent me, and I was trying to read through it because it was talking about, different names and different things. And I've been trying to put it together and figure out what was going on. But there is a sheriff in Michigan that has been investigating these these voting machines and issues to do with 2020 for a while now, and it looks like a county prosecutor is now trying to subpoena all of his records to do with his investigation. And this sheriff is saying, I'm not going to compromise my investigation by giving this to you because
exactly,
I don't think you're square. So,
you can't have anybody investigating what obviously went down because it was the cleanest election we've ever had in our history.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And Biden's the greatest president ever.
So that's what we're going to go. Those are some of the things we're going to be talking about. Johnny Cat, apparently he's got to bounce. He's heading to church in a few minutes, which, that's can't keep the good Lord waiting. But yeah, he's saying Haiti's always going to be a mess, just like the Middle East, and that's true. And a lot of it is it's the culture of the environment. It's the corruption that is just ingrained into it, that there are those that have, and there are those that will never have. And that's basically what you have in both of those locations. But yeah, Johnny Cat, we appreciate you showing up on YouTube and
thanks,
and giving us some comments. When you come back, make sure and watch the rest of the show over on Rumble. Even if you do it after church this evening, or do it tomorrow while you're messing around the house. We're gonna, I think, move over to Rumble now. Is there anything else you wanted for YouTube, Matt?
No, we're good. We're gonna have to step on the gas.
I know.